Welcome to Book Cuddle. I'm your host, Karen Reader with Readgab. Today, our guest is Meg Medina. She wrote this fantastic book, Graciela in the Abyss, and many others. And I don't know where my copy is. I think it's upstairs somewhere. And so you won the Newbery for your, tell me I lost the title in my head right now.
It's Mercy Suarez Changes Gears.
Mercy Suarez Changes Gears. Yes,
It was
another
the
author.
2019 winner.
Another author I had on when we do the book recommendation, she said that book just made her daughter feel seen, and it was the first book that her daughter got into reading because of it. And
Oh,
so,
that's wonderful.
beautiful book. But Meg, I'd love to take a second before we get into all your wonderful writing. Can you tell us a little bit about you first?
Yeah, sure. I've been writing for kids since about 2008, so I've been around for a while. And I live in Virginia. I live with my husband and my oldest daughter, Christina. And I write all kinds of books for kids from picture book all the way to YA. And let's see, personal things when I'm not writing. I'm in the garden usually. I love to dig in the dirt and find worms and, you know, just dig out there and just be outside, especially now, right? We're recording this in the fall, and
Yes.
it's like the best time ever in Virginia to be
Oh, it is
outside.
so gorgeous.
Uh, I am a fan of chocolate, and my guilty pleasure is Milk Duds. Don't tell my dentist.
Oh, that's so great. They're so chewy. I love them.
They're deadly. They're deadly. They're not even that delicious, but something happens. Same problem I have with candy corn at around this time of year.
Oh, I discovered that candy corn, the best part of the candy corn is like the bottom, and now I've sat there like bite and like eat all the bottoms of the candy corn.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Do it. My friend taught me that, and I was like, "You're right. I'm gonna just eat the bottoms."
No, I know it's deadly.
I
Anyway,
I
yeah.
wouldn't have even known they tasted any different from the top to the bottom. All right, so I love to just get to know a little bit about you and base it on a children's book. So I love this series, Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. And these fantastical creatures, particularly the satyrs, make friends with the family and they become really close friends with them. Is there a fantastical creature you'd love to make a friend with?
A phoenix for
Ooh,
me. Yeah, a phoenix. I love the idea of, something being destroyed and not really, and just being able to come back again and again. And I love that idea. There's something really strong about that idea.
right?
Um, the cycle of it. I don't know. I think there would be really wonderful stories to tell in there. And also like
Yes.
what it's like to to be ash and then come back into form. All those kind of questions would be fun.
Right? Talk about all the memories and the whole experience of it. That would
Yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah. And what
Gosh,
changes every time you return would be
yes.
really
I need a
interesting.
book about this. Oh, I love that answer. All right, so tell us a little bit about your newest, Graciela in the Abyss. What is it about?
Yes. Well, look, I have a really blingy version, a library friend. I don't know if you could see it. She stuck all
Oh,
these
she
little
bedazzled it.
she bedazzled Graciela in the Abyss. Graciela in the
Love
Abyss
it.
is a fantasy, and I'm not normally known for writing fantasy. I
Right.
write contemporary novels about kids in school, that kind of thing. And this book I started writing really early in my career in
Oh,
2010.
really?
And here we are, 2025, and the book came out. It's the story. Everyone is dead in this story, or almost everyone is dead
Almost,
in this
yes.
story. They're ghosts. Graciela is a girl who died on her 13th birthday in a ridiculously silly, just accident. She fell from a cliff on a day that the water was black water, the color of like dark oyster shells, and everyone knows that is bad luck and a sign that someone's going to die that day. But she goes on a picnic with her sister anyway, and in fact, she falls from the cliff, and she begins what happens when people die at sea. They are brought down into the abyss where they sleep for 100 years, and then they awaken as sea ghosts, and they are in a new form, a semi sort of translucent form. And they begin their journey of a really eternal sort of disintegration to become part of the ocean. But in the meantime, they have jobs. And her job is to be a glazier. She makes sea glass that she leaves for people on the seashore. And different spirits have different jobs. The main part of the story, though, is an adventure that she has to undertake. There is a living boy, Jorge, who is the son of a blacksmith, and he discovers that his ancestors were able to fashion the only harpoon in existence that can truly kill a sea ghost, a spirit, forever, and in doing so, really ruin the balance of the world. And so these two children, one living and one in spirit form, have to figure out how to save the world. So a lot of this book is everyone, most people are dead except Jorge,
Yes.
but it's very much a book about how we live and about friendship and what sacrifices we're willing to make, like for our community and for our friends. And it's filled with moments where you have to really ask yourself, what does it mean to be valiant or to have valor? Um, what does it mean to be honest when it's hard to be honest? Um, all those kinds of meaty things. So it's a combination. Like I think it's a book where kids will flip the pages because you want to find out,
Yes, I can
the
totally
next thing
see
that's
my son,
happening.
my 16-year-old doing that. He does that so often that I'm like, stop reading your head. That's cheating. He
Yeah,
laughs
I
at
know.
me.
Well, they can't. I know somebody who reads the last page first, and that feels like just sacrilege to me.
Yes.
I want to be surprised page by page with what
Right?
happens. But anyway, it is a page turner, but I think it also, I hope, in the quiet moments when kids are reading or in if it ends up in classrooms or wherever, that they're turning over these questions about who we are as people.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that, we can have these conversations past it when we know what our kids are reading and get a little deeper into it. What I have to do actually is I'll take a piece of paper or my hand just to keep myself from reading too far ahead, like we were saying, because I'm like, no, I cannot know further ahead. But what I want to go back to, you said that you started this 15 years ago. What was it that brought this journey stretched out over 15 years?
Well, sometimes, we have this idea that we can come up with an idea and we work at it for a little while. Like that should be the normal recipe, right? You create some sort of outline, you start writing, it goes well or not, and whatever,
Yeah.
and you end up with a book. No, that's really not how writing works. And I wish I had known this back when I was a writing teacher, right? Because I used to assign things to my students and ask them to like write an essay, a story,
Right.
whatever, and it was due X day.
Yes.
And the reality, now that I write for a living, the reality is that you have many false starts in writing.
Okay.
And you will write something that maybe a paragraph of it or a section of it works, but the rest doesn't.
Mhm.
Or you're not ready to write that story just yet
Right.
because there are other pieces missing inside of you that you need to finish writing that story. And that's, I think, what happened to me with Graciela. I knew from the beginning, I always had the opening was black water on a summer day always means someone will die. That line just kept cycling, in
Right.
my head. And I knew that I was going to write this story that began with two friends, sea ghosts, Amina and Graciela. And I could see them. They had pearl teeth. Every year, another layer of pearl, you know, grows on their teeth. So their mouths are really valuable, right? Their
Hmm.
teeth are really valuable to the greedy. So all of those like little pieces were there, but I kept writing it like the first 50 pages over and over again. I show students all the time when I go to their school,
Yes.
the my file, it's called the graveyard, where I put stuff that isn't working or that I
Yeah.
delete it or whatever, but I can't bring myself to like vaporizing
Right.
because it took so long to generate it, right? And I show them the dates 2010, 11, 12. Sometimes I wrote it from first person, from third person.
Mm.
Then in the middle of things, like this boy came into the story named Jorge. Like, what's this about? Who are you? And all of that had to percolate. And it didn't really come to me into full form
Mhm.
until a few years ago, really, in mostly because of three sad things.
Mm.
Sad thing one was in 2013, my mom died.
Oh my goodness.
And I had been her caretaker and she lived with
Oh,
me.
I'm so
And I
sorry.
didn't, thank you. I didn't have time to process how sad I was.
Right.
My mom and I we were we were close in the sense that I always had contact with my mom and
Right.
all of that, but we were very different people. And so we often butted heads. And so the last part of her life, when she was living here, was a lot of us like forgiving each other and getting to know each other as adults,
Yes.
not as the child and mom kind of thing. But when she died, she left behind her sister, the Aisa, my aunt,
Hmm.
in my care. And
Oh,
my aunt was wheelchair bound and had had a stroke. So I couldn't properly think about all the things about my mom's death. I had to take care of my
yeah.
aunt.
You had one new thing to do. Yeah.
Right. Sad thing too. Um, my aunt, my aunt gets worse
Oh,
over time, and I can't have just at the same time that my career is taking off, and there's a lot of travel involved. So
right.
I couldn't take care of her properly. So I found a nursing facility close to my house, like 4 blocks away, so that I could see her every day still. I
Nice.
could see her in the morning and say goodnight in the evening. And but when I traveled, there was someone there to bathe her
Good.
and get her
Yeah.
dressed and all the things. Sad thing three was um, COVID happened.
Yes. I was
And then
kind of assuming that was going to be one of the things.
yeah, and during COVID, they closed our ability to visit nursing homes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so the first thing that happened there was my aunt passed away, and I wasn't able to
Oh,
be with her at
oh,
that time. It
geez.
was terrible. And then just the nation, as you remember,
Yes.
we were all like isolated from each other. And we couldn't see each other and we couldn't be in community together and we
Right.
couldn't support each other. And then the temperature in the country, just how people are to one another,
Yeah.
went berserk. I mean, it's still with us. These angry feelings, these really divided
Yes.
feelings, these feelings of I don't like you, I don't know you, I don't
Yeah.
understand you, all of these kinds of things. So when all of those things happened, I was really thinking about words like grief
Mm.
and regret, if we could do things differently, if we could change things, what we're called to do for the people we love, the sacrifices that we make, sometimes for people we don't know, but for the greater good. Like all of that was like churning in there.
Right.
And, when you write a fantasy, you can take a step back and put it in this magical world
Yes.
as you are thinking about the things that are really sitting on your heart.
I
And
love
so
that
that's,
so much, the ability to do that.
yeah. And that's how, I think that's the draw, I think, sometimes of fantasy. Part of it is escape, right? And just invention. But the other part is that it's like a safety zone, right? That you can consider really thorny things about how we really are as people and how we live our lives in the realm of science fiction. And I think, and fantasy. And that's what I think I discovered about fantasy that I really love. And I love that I was able to discover something new about writing this late in my career. I
Right.
hope it keeps happening, you know. That's the exciting part when you keep finding new things that excite you
Yeah.
as anybody in the arts. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I love that so much that you talk to kids and you show them this graveyard of
Yeah,
stories, but then that they can be resurrected. And it's a good parallel to your Graciela and the Abyss because these spirits, they keep living after death
they do.
and they come back to life. Like first
Yeah.
they die and are
Yeah,
in the water, but
right.
then it takes like what, like 100 years or whatever before they experience their
Yeah.
sea life where they're these sea spirit. Would I call them a sea spirit, right?
Yes, you would. And you know, the ocean, when you think about the ocean, it's the cradle and the grave, right?
Yes.
Of so much.
Right.
And so it's the enormous cycle of everything, right? Everything that is living on land dies, returns to the ocean in some way, as silt or whatever. It drops down into the ocean, beneath the ocean, the core is churning and
Yes.
sending up volcanoes, building new land and for eventual, you know, to break the surface eventually. So it's this cycle.
Yes.
And it's just also connected. And then there's right at the surface is this thin little line that divides those two places.
Perfect.
And I don't know, there was just something really interesting about that. And I don't know how you feel about the ocean, but I both love the ocean and I'm terrified of the ocean.
Yes.
Both things
Yes.
at the same time. And so like when I'm in the water and I
Mesmerized by it. And yes.
yeah, like you don't know what brushed by your leg or what that cool spot was, or
Oh,
one
you put
minute
it
you're in the
so well in words.
water and then this gigantic wave
Right.
comes and out of nowhere, fog, like
Yes.
all the things. So it's a nice spooky place.
Oh, isn't it? Oh my gosh. So many things, so many conversations that can be pulled out. I love it. And I love it that you can, it just makes me think as you're talking about it, oh my gosh, that makes such beautiful art and creations that kids could do. And then also just like, don't be afraid, guys, to go back to these stories. Don't be
Right.
afraid to put them away and
Yeah,
don't be afraid when the time is right to resurrect them, to bring them back and come
absolutely.
back to them and let other ideas mesh.
Yeah.
They might need
I've had stuff in my graveyard that I just grabbed the names from an
right.
old story or the street name or one sentence and then I build something else. Nothing is ever really lost
Oh, I
in
love it.
writing. Like the first part is just like you were exercising your muscle,
Oh,
your creative muscle, your intellectual muscle, like and there's something in every failure that is just moving. It's like Thomas Edison, right? Like with the light, like you're every failure is bringing you closer to the thing that's going to work.
like
And
brilliant
you
success.
have to sort of embrace that as a writer too. And can I tell you about the art because you were
Yes.
talking about the art, but you see how the book, all right, this is a normal book jacket, but the artists who did this book jacket are these twins. They're sisters. They live in Italy. They're called the Balbusso twins. But the art in here is so beautiful. And look, in
Oh,
the
that's gorgeous. I
yeah,
haven't taken my dust cover off. Oh my gosh.
take it off, and then you'll see the evil spirit. Where is
Oh
he?
my gosh.
Oh, is he? Yeah, you see him over here?
Yes.
Yes, the needler.
Oh, look at that.
But the illustrations inside
They
are
remind me of like
beautiful.
old ancient illustrations, it feels like, and maybe that's very much on purpose, but like something that you would see from hundreds of years ago. Yes.
There's the evil harpoon and Jorge. Yes, I when I first got these illustrations, you know, you send the book in, and I've never had an illustrated novel. This is the first time.
Nice.
But as a kid, I used to love them. I love
Absolutely.
maps. I love glossaries of terms. I love illustrations. Like I adored that. So how fun to have a book of mine have these things, and especially in the able hands of the Balbusso twins,
Yeah.
because when the art came, you know, they send sketches and so on. It just took my breath away. It's eerie and
Right?
it's elegant
Yeah.
and it's, I don't know, it
Looks like
feels,
so much detail too. And yes.
Yes, and so they're really respectful of the reader's age, which is, till from about 10 to 14, like in there. So it's got a sophistication to it that I really liked, matched with my work. So I feel really lucky. In fact, on Instagram, the Balbusso twins, their handle,
Uh-huh.
they have several reels of the art materials that they
Oh,
used to
cool.
create the art and how they did it and early sketches of all of the characters. So if anybody's interested, that's kind of fun to see as well.
Well, and it's so fun. Like, I don't go and read ahead, but I go and look at pictures ahead, which can be bad because it will show
Yeah.
you some of the story. But I was so misled because of the pictures, because I went ahead and looked at the pictures. And so I got in my mind what I thought was going to happen. And I was so surprised how Jorge comes in and interacts. And because I knew Jorge was going to be important, this living boy.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, the way that you took the story just surprised me so much, even if I hadn't looked ahead at the pictures. And it was fun and brilliant and exciting. And I would love to actually revisit what you were saying about community and the importance of community. So if we could take what is in your book and talk about it for kids in real life, why is community important for children?
Oh, you know what? The thing is that none of us moves through this world alone, right? We have community within our family. It could be small community. It
Right?
doesn't be enormous, but community and family in all kinds of ways. School is a community and so on. And how we treat one another matters
Yes.
deeply. It's all, we're all in balance, right? So we're all contributing something and taking things that we need. Like it's a
Right?
constant feeding of this community. And so for me, when I think about that, I try to remember that a community isn't about one person,
No.
right? So being thoughtful about how we treat people, being thoughtful about um, w- taking and also giving
Yes.
into a community and just not being selfish.
Right.
And it's easy to want to be selfish or to only think about what you need,
Right.
right? Or what you want. But the fact is, there's all of you, and all of you together make the community. And like you could see this. I go to a lot of schools in this country, especially I was ambassador for a couple of years, the youth literature ambassador. So I really did get to go all across the country and see all kinds of schools, rural schools, city schools, schools that were heavily funded, schools with no funding, like all and everything in between. And it was remarkable to see the schools that really had a sense of community, a sense of connectedness in the staff, a sense of connectedness among the kids. Like you can feel it almost the
Oh, you
minute you
can.
walk into the main office. You can feel when it's working,
Right.
when there's like this undercurrent of this is a safe place to be.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that there's not conflicts in community, right?
There always will be, just like family. Just
Right.
even the strongest, best family is going to have conflict.
Yeah.
Community will.
But the bigger question is like how we handle that, right? And
Right.
how we rise above that. And you know, love and respect, I think, and just like the sense of the greater good. I
Yes.
I don't want that to be lost.
Right.
And I think it's a conversation that we constantly have to help us aspire to be our best version of ourselves
Right.
and not the most meager and yucky version of ourselves, right? That one is easy to do, right? When you get up grumpy and you just want, I'm taking this, I don't care. Like that
Right.
sort of mindset. It's harder to aspire to be your best self.
Right.
But that if we all do it, we end up with a net gain, I think.
I think so. I noticed that so much. I've moved around the country quite a bit, and when we were living in Northern California, my son went to a what do you call it? It's a Spanish immersion, dual immersion, where the kids they tried to have a balance of a third native Spanish speakers and a third that were learning Spanish and a third that kind of had that mix in the home. And so mine, of course, was the family coming that was they were the minority at the school, that they were one of the few white people at the school, but it was they already had that sense of community. They had figured out how to work so well together. They had such an amazing, diverse population and also across neuro capabilities and so many things. And it was incredible to see that they already figured out that sense of community. I just would love to be at that school forever.
Yeah.
And they did this fun thing called Kermesse every year where they did this big dance and they had so many things. But the first thing I noticed was it was my first time to realize, and I already had a degree in elementary education by then, but how much a principal could affect the
Yeah.
community. And he made a big difference to the community. And then we actually got a different principal the next year, and it kind of rocked the boat, but they had such a strong sense of community already that it helped that that was already there. And the kids just grew up already feeling that. And so it helped them thrive in the community. It was amazing and beautiful. And actually, the place we moved a couple after that, I saw another similar, really good one in a very different setting in rural Virginia, where they had great disparity, not so much about diversity from the people of race, but rather the diversity in income. That there were a lot of really, really, because it was such a big geographical boundary, there were a lot of really, really, really poor people within this rural Virginia and a lot of really wealthy people, but it worked. And they had this just strong sense of community and they worked well together. And again, it was amazing. And I feel like you see that so much in your book that we bring these very two different people and they don't understand each other, this living and this dead individual. And they end up with a common goal, but one of them doesn't want to have anything to do with it at first, but,
Right.
but eventually gives up and gives that sacrifice, that she finds a reason to become more of a selfless person. And I love that first there's tension and the need to work out and find some friendship where you wouldn't expect it. And it's amazing to see that work and the good things that happen when community works. I love it. It made me feel good. And like I said, it made me think of so many things across the board.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah,
great.
I like to write the characters with all their flaws at the
Mhm.
beginning, and so like Jorge's parents are just
Oh,
horrible. They're
awful.
just awful people. But Graciela herself, I mean, she makes decisions that are very, very self-protective, and she hasn't evolved yet. She hasn't, she's just starting to grow. And you can see it in her inability to light herself and
Yes,
in all the colors. And that was one of the things, like when I was when I started to write this book, when you're writing, for me, when I write a fantasy or when I wrote this fantasy,
right?
I looked at what I knew about the sea and, what I could research. So all the things, the kinds of creatures that are there, the lack of light, the depth, like it's rooted in factual things that we know about the ocean. And then there's just so much we don't know about the ocean. And in that like little crevice, right, is where um, I wrote that the where I could invent the
Yes,
characters. And w- bioluminescence was one of those things that was amazing to me. So there's very little food available down
right. Yeah,
below. And so the creatures that live there use light and there's no sunlight. So they
right.
have to ignite their own light. And they use it in so many ways. Sometimes they use it to lure prey.
Yeah.
Sometimes they use it in the opposite way to look like something larger and more menacing than they are, right? To scare off prey. They use something, my favorite thing is a fear scream, which
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, that scene was intense. Ooh,
Yeah, it's an enormous explosion of light meant like when you are facing your predator
yes.
and there's no way out, you give this enormous blast of light in the hope that a larger predator comes to to the scene to get the thing that's trying to
Yes.
eat you. So it's this it's communication, it's survival, it's all these things. But I think that growing up, kids, and I say this all the time about this novel, growing up is a process of figuring out what your inner light is,
Yes.
right?
And
And
what will
how to
you do with
use
it?
it. Yeah.
Yes. How to use it. Yes.
How do you use
Beautiful.
it? And so I gave that to Graciela.
Nice.
And in the beginning, of course, she can't manage her light. She can only like do this little baby blue
Yes.
glow. Like
That
she can't
everybody can
do
do, right?
the
Yes.
full range, right, of
Yes.
what's possible. And it's only her experience. And as she matures through the novel, that she starts to be able to manage. Um, manage her light, see it, control it. Um, yeah, it worked. It worked for me,
Worked.
that
Yeah.
notion.
I
It's
love
so
it.
different.
I love talking to you and hearing all of these things that I didn't initially see as such big themes and what you can do with them with the kids. Because actually, Meg, this interview has just taken a very different turn than I expected it to. And I love it so much. And
Oh,
I
good.
hope that adults will take it and do that with kids. And especially when, because it's been hard for me as an interviewee to be like, nope, leave those questions alone, because let's let this flow. And let's do that with our kids, right? Let's, when they start saying something, even when we had something in mind, let's pull out what they said because that's what they're interested in. And oh, how much my kids love the ocean. Like, and I think a lot of kids do, like they're interested in animals. And that's why there's, wild cards and all these, like when they're little kids about different animals and the octonauts. I don't know if you know that ridiculous cartoon in the
Yeah.
ocean. But it's because kids are so interested in that and the unseen. And you're right, like that was a neat thing to explore of the unknown. Yes, kids are going to just eat that up and be like, ooh, even if they've kind of lost that when they became teenagers, they'll be like, oh, I remember just wanting to know what are in those layers and what
Yeah.
can I do with that? I love that that's such a big thing in your book. It's powerful and love it. Meg, could you share with us what's coming next? Do you think you'll go into fantasy again? Do you already have more fiction? Picture break. What's on the agenda that we can see coming out from Meg?
All right, so I do not have a book coming out in 2026 except the paperback, I think, of
Okay.
Graciela, which is beautiful. I'm not allowed to say more, but they've done something with
Ooh,
the physical book that is
uh-huh.
just astoundingly
Something
gorgeous.
different. Oh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
something very, very different.
Nice.
So that will happen. But then in 2027, I have a picture book that will come out, and I also have the beginning of a little chapter book series for younger readers who
Nice.
are like 7 and 8. I wanted to see if I could write for that age group as well. And then everything else is sort of open. I am not a writer who has a gillion ideas waiting.
Right.
Um, I'll be in the garden somewhere digging for worms, and something will occur to me, and then I'll start, tapping out some ideas or thinking about it, ruminating.
See
So
where
I
it might go.
yeah, that is how I usually write. I don't outline. And at
Okay.
this point, I really like I'm feeling like I need to rest a bit because I had a very um strenuous 2 years of travel as ambassador, and then the book
Right.
came out this year. So it's been go, 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 go.
And then that mental, emotional self sounds like it needs a rest and recovery period
You
because it
do
sounds like
need
you put so
rest.
much of that emotional self into Graciela.
Yeah, you do need rest, and you need time to go out into the country and talk to kids about the book
Nice.
and so on. So that's what you'll see me on the road a lot.
Nice.
And I was just doing my newsletter. I have an author newsletter called Sobre Mesa. And so I always write an opening essay in the newsletter, and I was writing that next year I have like in the plans several um, events that I'm doing for other writers.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, community. So I think it's sort of the theme sort of
Giving
kept
back.
going right into this year. But
Nice.
yeah, I just think as I write new things, I never know for sure. But I do know that I love to be surprised. I like to learn new things. I like to
Nice.
figure out if I could do something that I haven't done before. So who knows?
Yes.
Anything's possible.
Oh, beautiful. Love it, love it. All right. Can we end with you sharing with us a favorite children's book that you can recommend across any age, 0 to 18? What is something that you can recommend for our audience?
Do you mean currently?
Anything.
Current writers?
Yeah.
Or okay, all right. So currently I just read there are two. One is called The Extraordinary Life or The Extraordinary Orbit of Alex Ramirez. And
Yes.
did you read it?
That's who recommended
Oh my
Bridget
gosh!
Fires at the end of the interview. I interviewed her a couple months ago, and that
Is that
she,
funny?
Jasmine Paulino, yes,
Yes,
she
yes,
says
yes,
that her daughter was just so impacted by Mercy Suarez. Changes gears. Did I say that
yes.
right? Yes.
That's amazing. Isn't that weird that I would pull
Yes.
her book out? All right, so this is why I connected to her book. It's a novel in verse. It's about a boy in middle school or high school
Yes.
who is in self-contained and loves studying about space and desperately wants to be mainstreamed out for this topic that he's so passionate about. So I have a daughter who's in her 30s, and she is intellectually disabled, and she spent a lot of time in self-contained classes.
Oh,
And so, as I was reading Alex's story, it just brought me back to all the assumptions we make about kids with learning disabilities and intellectual disabilities, how we sometimes overlook their talents and their passions, and how schools can do a better job, I think,
yes.
of giving kids space to take supports that they need in some areas and to shine and bloom in others. I thought it was a really smart novel, and I think it's amazing that it is a debut. Fabulous.
Yes.
The other book that I'm in the middle of, and I am not reading ahead, ma'am,
Good for
is
you.
Scattergood by H.M. Bauman.
I have
And
not heard of it at all, and that is a gorgeous cover.
it is a gorgeous cover, and it is historical fiction
Ooh, I love
set.
historical fiction.
Yes, yes, yes. And so she it's a little sad. I think
Okay.
she is on a farm with her family, and she has a cousin who has been diagnosed with an illness that she is unfamiliar with. The illness is leukemia. She does not know what that is, but she knows that Delia is not feeling very well.
Right.
And it's a coming of age story. There's this character named Ida who's boy crazy, and there's our main character who Peggy, who really wants to understand and figure out how to help Delia. And we're also like in rural life, in just before World War II or
Ah,
early
that's
World
the
War.
historical fiction part. Nice.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of points in there that I'm really enjoying, even though, once you know it's leukemia, you're bracing yourself for a
Yes.
sad story, but it isn't overwhelmingly sad. It's really lovely. And I love that it focuses on this girl just before she's like turning to like, she's right on the cusp of turning to like romantically thinking
Oh,
about
okay.
boys and things like that. She's
Yes.
just right there, like sorta, maybe, kind of like that.
And that's such an awkward age and so important to have represented
It
because kids
is.
feel
It
so awkward
is.
then.
I mean, yeah, it is. It's crush. It's questions.
Yes.
It's real.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Oh, I love
I'm
it.
I'm really liking it. I'm really liking it so far. So
Beautiful. Thank you, Meg. I love it. I can't wait to go look up that book. And thank you for your time. This was a
oh,
beautiful discussion.
it was wonderful. Thanks for having me and happy reading.
Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed hearing from Meg Medina as we talked about community and Graciela and the Abyss. If you like my podcast Book Cuddle, I'd really appreciate it. Could you take a second and rate and review Book Cuddle on your podcast platform? Because that really helps more people to be able to find Book Cuddle. I hope you have a fantastic week reading some amazing books.